Brendan, can you let me know when we're ready?
Yep, we'll let you know.
Perfect, thank you.
The live stream is up.
Perfect. So we're ready to start?
Good to go.
All right, thank you, Cody. All right, welcome everybody to the February 10th, 2021 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. My name is Kyle Thide and I'm the chair of Community Board 6. This meeting is being called to order at 7:03 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Secretary Seema Shaw, District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Cody Osterman, and Community Associate Brendan Berth. In order to conduct an efficient meeting tonight, let's observe a few ground rules. First, no one may speak until granted the floor. CB6 members, if you have a question about board business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. If you click the participants icon, the participants panel should appear and you should find the raise hand function there. If you still have technical difficulty, please relay your difficulty to us in the chat function. Speaking of which, the chat function should not be used for CB6 business or questions about agenda topics. Any remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having to state in writing information like an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Next, when a member is given the floor to speak, I, as the chair, will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you can speak. As a reminder, we're required by executive order to create a verbatim transcript of this meeting, so please keep all questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. To the members of the public, if you wish to speak in the public session and have not already registered by filling out the form on the CB6 website ahead of time, you can register to speak in the public session by using the Q&A feature of Zoom and posting your name, affiliation, and the topic you wish to speak about. This must be done by 7:15 p.m. tonight. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. So board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The secretary will now take attendance by roll call.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the meeting. So if you don't mind just saying that you are present out loud verbally, so then I can make sure I capture you. Kyle?
Present.
Asia?
Present.
Martin?
Present.
Elvie?
Present.
Joan?
Present.
Matt Bondi?
Present.
Claire Brennan?
Present.
Jim Collins? Jim? All right, not hearing Jim. Dan Devine?
Present.
Beatrice?
Present.
Jeannie?
Present.
Charles Fernandez?
Present.
Andrew Gross? Andrew? Not hearing Andrew. Adam? Adam Harkey? Not hearing Adam. Molly?
Here.
Paige? Judge?
Present.
Thank you. Yusuf Khalid? Yusuf? Not hearing Yusuf. John Keller?
Present.
Abigail Cruzmark?
Present.
Anton Mullner?
Present.
Kavita Matthew?
Here.
Sandra McKee?
Present.
Wells Magali?
Present.
Richard Mintz?
Present.
Rajesh Nair?
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe?
Present.
Reshma Patel?
Present.
Matthew Roberts?
Present.
Jean Santura?
Here.
Frank Scala? Frank? All right, not hearing Frank. Lawrence?
Present.
Anne Seligman?
Present.
Thank you. Lou Sapersky?
Yo.
Sean Sherman?
Present.
Sandro Sherrod?
Good evening, Seema. Yes, I'm
Thanks.
present.
Letty Simon?
Present.
Susan Steinberg?
Present.
Anju Suresh?
Present.
Thompson?
Present.
Corinne Vanderdonk?
Present.
Ryan Van Nieuwenhoven?
Present.
Claude Winfield?
Present.
Great, thank you. We have quorum.
All right, thank you, Seema. Next up, we are reforming how this section of the meeting operates. I have asked all of our elected officials to send over their reports ahead of time so that we can compile them. You can find all of the reports that were submitted on the CB6 website. Furthermore, the link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time to all board members and the general public. And for your convenience tonight, it can now be found in the chat function. I will now call on each of the elected officials who have RSVP'd so that they can take questions from CB6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will have 1 minute for quick greetings and to field questions. If there are no questions, we will move on to the next elected official on our list. If an elected official has a time-sensitive matter to report on that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, please let us know. So first up, we have Assemblymember Court's office, Rebecca.
Hi, everybody. This is Rebecca from Assemblymember Dan Court's office. We do not have any new updates for when I sent in my report last week. If anyone has any questions about what the Assembly member spoke about, please feel free to send our office an email, or I'll drop my email in the chat box if you just want to ask them to me directly. Otherwise, I hope everyone has a fantastic meeting tonight.
Thank you, Rebecca. Are there any questions for Assemblymember Court's office? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Councilmember Kalos.
Thank you very much. I love the new format. I've always thought folks should just read the newsletters that we send. Visit the page. We got a lot done. Happy to take any questions. Oh, and congratulations on the profile in our time.
Thank you, council member. Are there any questions for the council member? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Council Member Rivera's office. Katie is joining us tonight.
Hi, everyone. I do have one announcement. We're holding a notice of property value event with the Department of Finance. We're hosting one on the morning of February 23rd, and there will be another one in the evening on February 25th. This is a little different format. Usually we invite people to come talk to the Department of Finance assessors and find out if they can get any exemptions. So very interested to see how they're going to do this virtually. But any info, you can let me know, and I'm going to drop my email in the chat.
Thank you, Katie. Are there any questions for Councilmember Rivera's office? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, Katie. Next up, we have Assemblymember Epstein's office.
We don't appear to have anyone from Assemblymember Epstein's office present. Maybe we can come back to them.
Okay, thank you, Jesus. Next up, we have Michael Stinson from New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer's office.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone has a happy Lunar New Year that celebrates. Well, I know our household is already prepared with our groceries from Flushing over the weekend. So just one update on our end. We released a food security plan on Monday. I'll drop it in the chat, and I'll respect the rest of your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Are there any questions for the New York City Comptroller's office? All right, seeing none, we're going to go back to Assemblymember Epstein's office. I believe Joanna is here. No, okay, apparently having some technical difficulties. Do you have audio, Joanna? Able to report back that way. All right, let's move on, and we'll have Joanna fix her technical difficulties. Next up, we have Madeline from Senator Kruger's office.
Hi, CP6. It's Madeline from Senator Kruger's office. Check out our February Albany newsletter and the events that we posted with Community Board 6. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Madeline. Are there any questions for Senator Kruger's office? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Senator Hoylman's office. I believe we're joined by Sam.
Hi, everybody. Sam Vasquez from Senator Hoylman's office. The senator is on a train back from Albany right now. One of the new updates from the time that we submitted a report was that we recently passed, today actually, a new piece of legislation on ghost guns that would prohibit the sale and use of ghost guns, which are untraceable, unserialized guns in New York State. So we're really proud of that, and we're happy to provide any updates with that if anyone has questions. And also we'll likely include some more information in our next report as well. But plenty of details in our report for this meeting as well. So feel free to read up on that there.
Thank you, Sam. And are there any questions for Senator Hoylman's office? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Sam. Next up, we have Patrick from Councilmember Power's office.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone's been staying warm with the snowy weather we've been experiencing recently. The only update I have right now, aside from our report that we submitted last week, was that we just released our February monthly newsletter today. I believe it is included in the report now, but it was not when we initially submitted it. But it was just released today and has a lot of great info and updates on the work Councilmember Powers has been doing, and I recommend everyone go check it out.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Are there any questions for Councilmember Powers' office? I see a hand raised in the public section.
Sean, could you state your question?
Hi, yeah, this question is for Patrick. Hi, Patrick, this is Sean.
Hi, Sean.
You and I have been on email back and forth since November. And I read your report as to what has been accomplished in the past month, though my last 3 emails to you have gone unanswered, and the questions I've had for you and how they relate to our community have gone unanswered for almost 2.5 months now. I've left messages with the office requesting calls backs as well. There are many outstanding issues affecting my community, and I'm very angry.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. We will continue to, we can correspond offline. I can reach back out to you, and we can continue to work on those issues.
When?
All right, thank you. Patrick, could you put your email in the chat box? Awesome, thank you. All right, I see that Senator Hoylman is on as well. Would you like to give a couple of greetings?
Yes, thank you very much. Good to see everyone. State Senator Brad Hoylman here. I'm in the Albany Rensselaer train station where I came up for session, and now the train has been delayed for at least 2 hours. So wish me luck getting home tonight. Anyhow, today we passed an important bill to ban what are called ghost guns. Those are guns that are unserialized and untraceable, and they've risen in use actually during the pandemic, which is very worrisome. But they evade police detection, and we passed a law that I wrote to ban them and make illegal their sale and possession. So very proud about that. And my colleague Sam is here as well. But we're working on budget hearings and trying to figure out how we can raise additional revenue in the event that the federal government doesn't come through with the money that New York needs to get back up on its feet. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Senator, and congratulations on the bill.
Thank you so much.
Are there any questions for the senator, for members of the board or the public? All right. Oh, I see a hand from Anne. Anne, you have the floor.
Hi, Brad. We don't need to talk about this now, but I'd love to know who I should talk to in your office about congestion pricing. I saw that in your report, and I'd love to follow up on that.
Sure thing. Sam on the Zoom is a good resource for that. And you can reach out to me directly too, bradhoyleman@gmail.com.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Drop my email in the chat, Ann. Happy to.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Joanna, I believe you've figured out your technical difficulties.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Joanna Sanchez. I'm from Assemblymember Harvey Epstein's office.
Hi, Joanna. I think we lost your connection. Can't hear you.
Assemblymember Epstein. In addition to this, we are also supporting workers who need the COVID vaccine. And of course, there was legislation that was passed in regards to this matter. And in regards to budget updates, the governor released his budget, which lacks serious-minded proposals to raise revenue to New York needs to recover from the economic shocks from COVID-19. If anyone has any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me. I will include my contact below. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joanna, and welcome to the community board.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have Taylor from Congresswoman Maloney's office.
Doesn't look like Taylor is here yet, so maybe we can come back to her. But we do have the next speaker.
Okay, perfect. Next up, we have Kevin Jean-Baptiste from District Attorney Cy Vance's office.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Jean-Baptiste from the Manhattan District Attorney's office. And I'm actually here just to provide two things really quickly. One being our high school resume workshop that we do annually. And it's in preparation for our high school summer internship program. And we developed it a couple of years ago to increase the equity in the application process. We understand that there's young people that may not have a resume yet, and are seeking to develop one or may not know how to develop one. And so we have these two events next week, February 17th and February 18th, where we have ADAs and folks from our office spending an hour and some time with these young individuals to help them develop their resumes in hopes that they'll apply to our office internship, but they can also apply anywhere else with their resumes, obviously. So that is next week Thursday, the 17th. I'm sorry, next week Wednesday the 17th, and next week Thursday the 18th, from 1 to 2 p.m. And I'm happy, I think I sent the flyer over to Kyle already, so that information should be available. And the second thing that I have is the teen dating violence presentations that our office has been doing for the month of February, in honor of Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So we have assistant district attorneys that come out to organizations or folks that can gather a group of people to provide tips on how to identify if a teen is in a violent relationship, and resources of what to do, how to react if you notice something, or hotlines that you can call, etc. So we've been going around doing these presentations. We've done, I think, already 10 of them for the month of February, and we're looking to do some more for the month of February and beyond. And so I shared the flyer for that as well. And if anyone has any questions or would like to request a presentation, there's a link on there. You can click on there, or you can send me an email, which I'll send in the chat, to request one of those presentations. So those are my two announcements. I'll take questions if there's time.
Thank you, Kevin. Are there any questions for the district attorney's office? All right, I'm not seeing any hands. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you, Val.
Jesus, we'll move on to the public session. Has anyone signed up to speak in the public session?
Yes, we do have two people who have signed up for the public session. Our first one is a Mr. Sean, forgive me if I mispronounced the name, Bakil. Orvakil. He is a district resident, a resident of this district, who wants to speak on a budgetary matter relating to library closures.
All right, welcome.
All right. Mr. Vakil, you may state your point. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, guys. Thank you. My name is Sean Vakil. I was speaking with Kyle. And this one of the issues I've been working on with his office is I'd like some clarity. And this is a microcosm of our budget in New York and as pertaining to the services that are being delivered or not being delivered to us as a whole. We've got 43% of our libraries closed and unavailable to us. And we've seen about 3% of employees furloughed. Now, this doesn't sit well with me. In my district alone, we have 4 libraries that are closed, and I've been asking for answers for 2 months, and I haven't gotten any. There's a myriad of issues. Somebody brought up revenue, and we haven't seen appropriate closures or reduction in revenues or reduction in spending in New York City to justify this level of reduction in services. I'm really, really angry, and I'm very frustrated that I'm not getting answers out of my councilman's office. I'm being ignored via email, not having my phone calls returned, and I'm here to figure out as another venue to get some answers and some clarity to what is happening in my city.
All right, thank you, Sean. Could you please actually send me an email? I'll put my email in the chat as well. I don't believe I've been CC'd on these emails, but please CC me on them and we'll work to address those issues.
All right, the next speaker, give me 1 second. The next speaker is a Miss Susan Peters. She is representing the organization New Yorkers for Wired Tech, and she would like to speak to the board about health dangers from radio frequency microwave antennas being mounted on street corners.
Welcome.
All right. Ms. Peters, you may state your point, and you have 3 minutes.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Hi, my name is Susan Peters, and I am a longtime resident of New York City and a member of the local group New Yorkers for Wired Tech. I wish to alert the community to a health danger in our neighborhoods. The City of New York has approved all in one shot the installation of 11,500 wireless antennas installed on utility poles. 8,200 have already been installed, and there are plans for another 3,400 to be installed. You can see one on almost every corner. But the public is not informed of the high levels of radiation coming from the antennas, already causing some residents of our city to move from their apartments. Antennas are installed outside the windows of their apartments, and they become too sick to stay where they are. Recently, the state of New Hampshire established a commission to study this issue. Their report, just issued to the governor on November 1st of last year, concluded that safety assurances for 5G have come into question. A majority of the commission believes the FCC has not exercised due diligence by not setting exposure limits that protect against health effects. Schools and public libraries should migrate away from radio frequency wireless connections and hardwire the connections which do not subject children to the microwave radiation. Here is a history of extensive testing by US and international agencies finding carcinogenic effects from even low levels of radio frequency cell phone radiation at 2G and 3G cell phone levels, well below 5G. 2013, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, after reviewing available data, classified radio frequency fields, which include cell phone radiation, as a possible carcinogen to humans. 2018, the U.S. National Toxicology Program, in a long-time running study, tested 2 common radio frequency cell phone levels in a 2-year rodent cancer study. It was a $30 million animal study. It showed clear evidence that radio frequency radiation can lead to malignant tumors in male rats. The paper is currently under peer review. Let me leave you with this. A typical antenna in our public space outputs between 15,000 and 75,000 times more power than is necessary to make a 5-bar cellular connection. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Susan.
All right, that concludes the speakers list for the public session.
All right, thank you, Jesus, and thank you to our members of the public who spoke today. As always, I encourage anybody from the public or the board who are interested in particular topics to attend the appropriate committee meetings. That is the place and time to get really in depth on a lot of these issues. So I encourage you as your next step to find the appropriate committee and attend and bring these issues up. We will move on to adopting the previous minutes of our previous meeting. The minutes from the January 13th full board meeting were distributed to board members ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt the minutes from that meeting. Board members, if you object to adopting the minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the minutes from January 13th full board meeting are adopted. They will soon be available on the CB6 website. So for tonight, I have a pretty quick report back. The first thing that I want to mention is that 1 month ago, on January 11th, we held a COVID vaccine town hall that was led by the Health and Human Services Committee. It was a fantastic success, and I want to thank Elvie, who is the chair of that committee, for her leadership and her management and her initiative. This was really her product, and I want to commend her and congratulate her on that program, and I look forward to seeing the rest of the work that she leads. With that in mind, the next meeting for Health and Human Services will be tomorrow evening, and I'm sure Elvie will mention that during her report as well. Next up, I've also reestablished the Public Safety Committee, which will be headed up by Matt Roberts. That meeting, their first meeting, will take place on the 18th at 6:30 p.m. So please visit the website for more information on that. Furthermore, as we saw earlier today, I've adopted a new format for our full board meetings for the public officials section. This is meant to not only be time efficient, but to allow for more time to hear from the public and for us to focus on board meeting work. So hopefully that has worked well tonight. Next up, based on that, one of the conversations that I've been having with our district manager, Jesus Perez, has been about how our meetings will look like in a post socially distant world and how we want to take that approach. So we've had discussions on that, and we want to include the voices of the rest of this board and the public as well. And so I'll be working with our executive committee to discuss ways that we can get feedback, we can get how people's experiences have been going with this virtual format, and to see what ways we can adapt this to in person, or how we want to move forward with that. So, stay tuned for more information on that. And then lastly, I just want to remind everybody, so those who are applying to the community board as new time members, and those who are reapplying, that the deadline is the 22nd. It was extended from earlier this month to the 22nd. So please keep that in mind. It's a little less than 2 weeks away. And that's all I have for tonight. So we'll hear from Jesus now.
Thank you, Kyle. And actually, that segues perfectly into my report. So it may seem hard to believe, but mid-March and early April, which are just around the corner, will mark 1 year since community boards across the city began transitioning from in-person meetings to virtual meetings on Zoom in order to help stop the spread of the coronavirus. Abruptly shifting to all online meetings when community boards have been meeting in person for almost 6 decades was quite a change for community boards all across the city, but it has allowed us and other city agencies to experiment with a different way of reaching our communities. At some point, we hope the pandemic will be over, and as Kyle mentioned, that means that we need to start thinking about how our meetings will look now, because the executive order that allows community boards to meet online will eventually expire. Will our meetings go back to being in person? Will they be all online still? Will they be some hybrid? As Kyle has mentioned, this conversation has recently been happening at the borough president and at the CB6 level. And so CB6 leadership is actually soon releasing a survey to learn what residents of our district think and about having meetings online. Members of the public, those of you who are in attendance tonight, will get early access to the survey right now, the link for which appears in your chat. And we encourage you to fill it out. Board members, of course, we're interested in your input on this topic too, so we invite you to fill out the survey as well. You can find the link in the chat as well as in the CB6 Wednesday email that board members get. It was sent out about 5 p.m. Today. This conversation, as Kyle mentioned, is only getting started, so you'll hear more about this in the coming months, and we hope you'll fill out the survey. Again, I will also remind you guys, board members, to reapply. We hope you will, but if you decide not to, please send a brief email to the board office and to the board chair in order to let us know. Something that came up last month, we are still working with the Department of Homeless Services to ensure that we get a formal response to the letter we sent them 2 months ago now. We understand that the response to our letter is undergoing an internal review and should be sent to us at the conclusion of that review. Additionally, as of now, there is still no settled date for the shelter to open, as the site is still pending review by the state agency that certifies publicly funded homeless shelters. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Jesus. Anne has a question, and you have the floor.
Yeah, I have some, I think this is a great idea to do the survey and very thought provoking. Like, I'm not going to answer it right away because I want to think about it first. But I have some friends that are either members of community boards in other parts of the city or attend community board meetings in other parts of the city. Is this intended really just for our district, or are you interested in getting feedback from sort of, I would say, less affiliated folks?
We are interested in getting feedback from our district, of course, because we're the community board that represents this district. But in my initial conversations with Kyle, and of course, these are still early days, perhaps a resolution could come out of this, perhaps a letter could come out of this, perhaps other community boards can start thinking about this as well, perhaps a borough board action can come out of this. So you know, it'll grow from there. Ultimately, it's not really up to community boards, it's up to the governor, because it's the governor's, it's the open meetings law, which is the state level law that determines how community boards and public entities can meet. But if we can start now and have some input, that may be, you know, a good thing.
Exactly.
Okay, but just to clarify, you do right now only want responses from people living or working in CB6?
We want responses from people who have attended CB6 meetings.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you. And just to build on that just really quickly, the idea is that once a determination has come from the state level, you know, we don't want to be reactive to this and figure out, okay, in 2 weeks, how do we start to set up our meetings? We want to be proactive and make sure that our needs and concerns are addressed in any changes that are made. Asia, you have the floor.
Thanks, guys. I was just going to say, I don't know if Anne, you were hinting at this. I mean, I do find it very convenient to meet online, and I know we do have more folks coming to our meetings because it is convenient, but I'm really hesitant to move to fully online meetings, just because I don't really know the prevalence of internet access in our communities. And when I think about some of the other folks that, you know, that are here, many of them don't have, there are people that aren't here that can't vote, right? The people that won't be able to have their voices heard. So I want us to, maybe if the office could look into internet access. I know the comptroller did a really great study as it related to the census for the city, and to see if there would be, you know, how accessible is our district, and how much not just internet, but smartphones and access to those type of things that are available, and if there's an age or ethnicity difference.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you, Asya.
Yeah, those are great remarks, and those are the kind of things we want to hear about in the survey. Again, members of the public, please fill out the survey. Members of the board, please fill out the survey. If you know of other people who have interacted with our meetings during the pandemic or even before, please send in the survey. And I do believe now, that concludes my report. I do believe that Joel is with us now.
Yep. I'm here and I welcome questions, and I love that Kyle is a superstar.
Thank you.
Great article. That was very fabulous. I loved it. So you want to ask questions? That's fine with me. That's what Brian Lafferty had mentioned.
Yep. So we'll open it up to any questions for the borough president. And if in the meantime you have any updates for today or just brief greetings, feel free to go ahead.
I mean, the only updates I have is this vaccine. I was at the Javits Center today with the Lieutenant Governor, just to give you a sense, because I don't know about you, but I'm swamped with calls. And they're doing 2,500 a day. They could do 10 to 20,000, but they don't have enough vaccine, just to give you a sense. Manhattan does not have our own large space. Certainly they do in Queens now and the Bronx. And the folks at 168th Street, zip codes from 10026 North and the South Bronx. Doesn't make me happy, but you know, that's what it is. We need more in Lower Manhattan, to be honest with you, south of 96th Street. My understanding is that that is being considered because Javits is heavily anybody from the state of New York or anybody who works in New York City in an essential worker situation. So there are a lot of people who do not reside in Manhattan. So we are looking for a larger site, particularly if they get more doses. That's number one. And then I think the second issue I just want to mention is that we have our task force on vaccines every Tuesday at 3 o'clock. You're welcome to join us. The next topic is going to be people who are at home. Are we going to work with visiting nurse service? Are we going to work with meals that get delivered on the weekends? Are we going to work with groups, senior centers, etc.? Who is going to work with those who are at home and cannot leave their home? So that's a question that has not been answered to the best of my knowledge by either city or state officials, and it's an important group. So in terms of vaccines, I think that's it, but you may have other questions. I know, I think the schools are an issue in some cases. I've had lots of calls about that. And we are going to set up, I don't know if it will be February, March, this helicopter task force. There's lots of interest from the state of New Jersey. And we definitely hope there might be, we work with the congressional delegation, there might be new people at FAA. We have not had any luck in the past, but maybe there are some new people there. We're going to invite them to see if they could be more helpful in terms of making decisions about helicopters flying over New York. I think I told you before, it's all about taking the pictures for Instagram. NYC and Company, to their credit, has had, I didn't know till recently, contracts with 3 helicopter companies out of New Jersey, and they get a little discount when you go through NYC and Company. I want that to end. And they are, working on that, I believe, getting out of that contract. That doesn't help us at all.
For President, we have 2 questions for you, actually.
So, I'm ready.
Up we have Marty.
Actually, it's a statement. Yesterday, or was it the day before, Walgreens got a shipment, and they've been scheduling appointments. I was able to get an appointment at 58th Street for Friday.
Great, congratulations, Marty.
All right, next up we have Sean from the public.
Hi, Gail.
Hi.
I just wanted to touch on your frustration with Lower Manhattan not having dedicated sites for vaccine delivery. I'm just proposing an idea. I don't have a lot to say about it, but I think this is a good venue to voice it. But I previously I worked in the hospitality industry, and as you know, we've been decimated. But we've got to look at things as opportunities in where we are currently, and I think there are a lot of large-scale spaces that have not been used, that can't be used right now in the hospitality way, but I think they could be really rented out by the city and state and the federal government to help vaccinate people. And if there's any way I can help to make some introductions if you need, I'm happy to. I'm pretty sure you could probably Google the largest event spaces in New York and do it without me as well.
Thank you. Well, that's
You're
a great idea. Thank you very much. And February 22 is the deadline for new applicants and current applicants, just to mention that for the community board. Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you so much, Borough President, and I see no more questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll next move on to the treasurer's report.
Good evening, everybody. I have a report for you tonight. So listen up because I have some details and it'll affect my reports possibly over the next couple of months, but shouldn't be a big deal overall. OMB's budget summary report for our board from February 1st shows that our personal services budget for the year started at $228,321, and we have a balance of $105,424 with $111,115 spent or obligated. A reduction of $11,781 to this budget is pending. In short, this is a mid-year budget cut from City Hall. The notation on our report still mentions $228,000 as our fiscal year 2021 budget, but for our purposes, it went down to about $216,000. Regardless, it appears this will not impact our operations. In the future, I will continue to refer to our personal services budget as being our original budget minus a reduction if it continues to be noted this way on the reports. Our current budget for other than personal services, excluding rent, is $140,659. This figure contains $110,185 of our retained street fair money, and our remaining OTPS budget is $30,474. There's been no movement this month. We have a balance of $29,774 with $700 spent or obligated for the fiscal year. Finally, we have a rent budget of $162,935, and it has already been used to pay for our rent obligations for the remainder of the fiscal year. If anyone has any questions, I will take them.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions for Brian? Sean, is your hand raised again for the public, or is it your hand from before?
Yes, it's for Brian.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Hey, Brian. This is my second time attending a community board meeting, so please forgive me if my question is not pertinent to you. The numbers that you provided, are those just budgets for the community board's operating budget?
Yes, the community board, as per the city, is an entity that basically consists for budget purposes of the office that we maintain with 50 members appointed as volunteers from the borough president's office. So again, there's no city operations that we run other than our own office for constituent services and for the purpose of facilitating the board's meetings. We have a couple of community associates that in the district manager consist of our personal services budget. The other than personal services budget, excluding rent, is our funds that we get for the purposes of things like office supplies and operations. We additionally have, I hate to use the word grandfathered, but essentially we're a partner in a street fair. And when in pre-pandemic times, when the street fair runs, we run a table at the street fair, and the street fair gives us a percentage of the street fair's profits, and we retain that money, and we have that money that we use to pay for things like a land use consultant and whatnot. And then finally, we also have a rent budget that is basically tailored to our DCAS rent figure. DCAS negotiated the rent for our office space, and then OMB gives us the money to pay the rent on that, and then we pay the landlord, and then that's how that works out. So like the important figures are our personal services budget in terms of are we making payroll, which we are. We're actually probably one staff member short for the period of the year. And then also our other than personal services budget, if we take care of all of our immediate needs in terms of operations, do we have money left over to make investments in constituent services or the community at large? And the answer right now, and I think we've talked about this at the board before, but just to repeat this for your benefit, the money that we have that's left over from that operations, it's the majority of the money that's budgeted for it, but it's not a lot of money in terms of city spending. So we tend to struggle in trying to find a good fit for that money. But one thing we cannot do is we can't just give it to a charity or an external organization. And it's not a really good idea for us to decide in advance to give it back to the city, because if we give it back to the city, we have no idea where it goes. It just ends up in essentially the mayor's, discretion to just dump it wherever he wants. So we don't actually have a say in where that money goes. And I think our job here at the community board is to use that budget to the best of our ability for the sake of the community, which means we should really make a best effort to try to use that on operations or board investments before the end of the fiscal year. And then at the end of the fiscal year, if there's anything left over, then the city will liquidate that part of the budget and then roll it over to the following year in terms of leftovers and probably invest it in another agency, which again, we won't have a choice when that happens. It could go all to another district to a cause that doesn't benefit our residents.
All right, thank you, Brian. Marty, you're up.
So in essence, by being one staff person down, we're liable to have a $30,000 to $50,000 reduction in next year's budget.
I don't think we're going to get a budget reduction because of our current staff level. I don't think that this is a situation where they're going to look at what we're doing. They're going to go, you guys need less money. We actually need more staff, and I will let the district manager expand on this if he wants to. But essentially, I think that I find that we have an issue with right sizing the staff, because if we hire another staff member, we have to kind of come in a little bit under on the salary to get it to fit exactly. There's an issue that if we hire another staff member and we have, I think, additional expenses regarding staff, that we might actually be looking at a budget crunch there. So it's not easy. I mean, one of the things is, like right now we have a certain size of office staff. It would be nice to have one more budget. It would be nice to have one more staff member. That's something that, again, the district manager can expand upon. But one of the things is that it's tough because the way that the city looks at it, a community associate to them doesn't get paid a lot of money, and it costs a lot of money to live in New York. So I feel like, budgetarily, it's a lot more comfortable for us to sort of have the associates that we have and come under budget a little bit, and then look at the possibility of looking at growth for the employees that we have. But I don't really have a position on this. I'm just saying that these are all the concerns that happen.
The board has had, in the.
I just want to hold up before we get too much into detail.
We're in the weeds,
Okay.
but I mean, these are
all right, never mind.
Get in the weeds at another point.
Yeah.
But thank you for the questions. And
yeah, my role only in this is to say, does the math add up on what we are proceeding to do? And for the moment, what we're doing is fine. If we hire another associate, with the budget cut, we'd probably be really squeezed, but this is only for this fiscal year, and it looks like the rest of our budget is baselined. Don't quote me on that. We can make some contacts this month to figure out if it's actually officially baselined, but for the moment, we are not facing permanent cuts in our staff budget.
All right. Fantastic. All right, so we've now actually arrived at our committee reports and resolutions. And as a reminder, I'm going to go through our guidelines to conduct an efficient meeting. So first, again, no one may speak until granted the floor. Board members, if you have a question or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. And again, the chat function should not be used for board business or questions about agenda topics. Any remarks, all remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. And chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties that you are having, or to state in writing information such as an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. When a board member is given the floor to speak, I, as the chair, will identify you. And then last but not least, as required by executive order, we must create a verbatim transcript of the meeting. So please keep all questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. So for tonight, we are again using a digital ballot. The CB6 staff will post a link to the ballot in the chat. Please open this ballot, select your name from the list of board members, and select your vote on each resolution as it is presented. If you're unable to click on the link, please copy and paste it into your browser. Remember to do not hit submit until later in the evening after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of this meeting, once you have indicated all of your votes on your ballot, only then should you submit your ballot. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. If you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call, so please stick around for that. If any part of our voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand through Zoom and we will address your question. All right, seeing none, we will begin with the Transportation Committee. Gene, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First up is the Furious Act. It's a reso of support, very straightforward for an act that is currently moving through the state legislature, which basically it allows New York City to operate the speed cameras in front of schools outside the hours that they're currently limited to once the city's identified those as areas of concern about street racing. Youssef wrote the reso, and I'm going to hand it off to him to explain and deal with questions. Youssef.
Sure, Gene, thank you. So very simply, the Furious Act was introduced by Senator Hoylman. The focus really arose from a 3 to 4x increase in unauthorized speeding and drag racing in the streets of our district, but across the city during the COVID pause. So from March to September, we've seen a major increase in violations and in complaints basically through 311. As Gene mentioned, right now the city is authorized to operate speed cameras around school zones between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. So not on nights and not on weekends. This would basically expand the operating time period for nights and weekends if the local community board deems it as a necessary concern, as something that warrants the greater operation of speed cameras. The borough president is supportive, as are others. And the focus again would be to make sure that drivers are adhering to the speed limit and also reducing noise in the district, which is a big concern. Any questions?
Thank you, Youssef. And just a reminder, this section is only open to board members for questions and comments. Are there any questions from the board?
I have a point of clarification real quick. Youssef, did you say that this is a 3 to 4%, 3 to 4 time increase, or 3.4? Because that's what the reso says.
No, it's 3.4x. So that would be 340%. What does the reso? What's the language in the reso?
Yeah, 3.4x, but I thought I heard 3 to 4x. So I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, it just depends on when you start and end the period. The reso specifically looks at March to September 2020 as compared to the previous period last year, and that's roughly 3.4x. But if you expand it, it could go up or down, but it's risen quite a bit is the takeaway.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board on this resolution or any motions? Any motions? Adam?
Call to question.
All right. Lou, are you seconding? Lou seems to be on mute.
I second.
All right, Susan seconds that. All right, so mark your vote on your digital ballot for this resolution and do not hit submit. Those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. Please take time to do that. And Jean, do you want to go to your second?
I don't have the ballot.
All right, can you copy and paste the link into your browser, Lou? If you're unable to click on it, it should be in the chat function.
Do you want me to move to the next item?
Yeah, can one of Brendan or Cody or Jesus help Lou with his ballot while Gene continues with his report?
Okay, this is recommending a solution to a problem on 3rd Avenue between 26th and 32nd Street, which is the restaurants being on the street, the narrow sidewalks having to accommodate both neighborhood residents, people who like to come to that strip to dine and socialize. It's made it very difficult for people to just get around the neighborhood. So what we're suggesting to DOT is that they should study ways to redesign that part of the street and make the expanded sidewalks livable for people so that they can use them and narrow the travel lanes. What we've given them is a menu of possibilities. We've also expect them to bring their own stuff to the table, their own knowledge, their own expertise, and come up with things. So that's what this is. This is an attempt to get around the fact, in part, that we don't have BIDs and strong neighborhood organizations there that can deal with the open streets paradigm that was set up earlier this last year. This doesn't need that because the Department of Sanitation can, in fact, maintain the spaces the way they've been roughly laid out in front of DOT. And so that's the basics. If there are questions, I know it can be hard for people to visualize some of this, but it's really a menu of options for DOT to then visualize and create plans and come back to us to get our feedback and approval.
All right, I see Rich has a question for you. Rich, you have the floor.
Thank you. I live on this stretch between 24th and 25th, and I'm wondering why we're starting at 26th rather than at 25th.
It was simply the density of businesses that were on the street.
Okay, so there are more, because yeah, I guess the restaurants get very dense about 26th on the west side. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for Gene? All right, seeing none, are there any motions?
Motion to go ahead.
Who's speaking? Is that Anton?
Anton.
Anton,
Yes.
you're calling to question?
I'm making a motion to approve this.
Okay, so we have a motion of no objection,
Seconded by Seema.
seconded by Seema. Thank you. So please return to your ballot and mark your vote for this resolution. This is 1B. And again, do not hit submit. Those of you who are not using a digital ballot, we will ask you for your vote verbally during the second roll call. And while people are making their vote, Gene, do you have a report?
I do, sorry. I was actually marking my ballot. Yeah, real quick, a few items. One, the apparently eternal sinkholes up by the FDR 34th Street ramp are gone, all 9 of them. They started with 1, they found 8 more. They're all done, they're all fixed. And the bike lane is back intact. Everything seems to be working okay. We'll keep you posted because there are sinkholes appearing all over the east side. ESCR, they came to us again this month. They've narrowed the amount of the detour that has to be sent over to 1st and 2nd Avenue from around the ESCR site. We're hoping they bring back an even smaller area, as in maybe nothing, the next time, so that people can traverse safely, but a lot less, with a lot less effort right under the FDR overpass here. 59th Street Bridge is actually in the news because there have been a lot of complaints with good reason. The north side of that bridge is jammed with people on bikes, people on e-scooters, people on foot, joggers, you name it, it's there. And it's way too narrow. So it will be open. The south roadway will in fact be opened, redone for a pedestrian only walkway. What we're looking to find out now is how soon, because originally that was scheduled back in the day for 2022 anyway. The mayor came out with a big announcement saying it's on, but still it seems like the scheduled date is still 2022. So we're going to work to find out whether that date has changed, and if it hasn't, we're going to try to push it up. And lastly, we'll be working on reviving summer streets. That'll be one of the main topics for our next meeting. So if you're interested, drop on by. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Gene. Are there any questions for Gene? All right, thank you, Gene. We'll move on to Environment and Parks. Kevin?
Thanks, Kyle. Hey, on a personal note, I just want to thank Brian for that summary of district money. I hadn't had the pleasure of hearing that earlier, and it was a very nice crystallization. I hope we all enjoyed. Thanks for that. Environment and Parks Committee's one resolution features the block of street that hugs a north portion of St. Martin Park. That would be East 36th Street between First Avenue and the Tunnel Approach Street. At our last committee meeting, we gave the floor to the Alliance for Kips Bay and PS 116 and PS 281 parent leaders about turning that stretch into an open street with space reserved for a compost operation. I should add that the Organics Recovery Coordinator at the Lower East Side Ecology Center also spoke and expressed interest in the center handling the compost particulars at the location as part of the city's zero waste initiative. The full discussion led to this unanimous committee support of this resolution.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Are there any questions on this resolution? All right, seeing no questions, are there any motions? Please raise your hand if you have a motion. We'll call on you and then we can get someone to second it.
My hand raise has disappeared, but I will, make a motion to pass this reso or call to question, whatever we need.
And Adam, you're seconding that?
I am seconding it, yes.
Thank you. All right, so all members, please return back to your digital ballot. Mark your vote for this resolution and do not hit submit. Those of you who are not using digital ballot, we will ask you for your vote verbally during the second roll call. Remember, this is 2A. And Kevin, while people are making their votes, do you want to report?
Briefly, thank you. The committee's advances recently include the identifying of more opportunities for extended open space in the district, as is reflected in this resolution. We heard from the Municipal Art Society's Director of Advocacy, and for those not familiar, although founded in the 1890s to beautify New York with public art, the Society expanded its mission. It includes its city's building streetscapes and public spaces with the aim to bring the voice of the public into the debates that impact our lives as New Yorkers. We asked the Society to present to the committee something that we knew that the Society has proposed for the city to appoint a public realm czar like Paris and Boston and Los Angeles, one person to handle oversight of all spaces and direction of all agencies that lay claim to open space jurisdiction. This could allow us to expand open and green space more efficiently and expeditiously. Give you one quick example. We inquired to Mta Bridges and Tunnels about its green space on the east side of First Avenue between 36th and 37th, right next door to the proposed closed open street. That has been closed, that parcel, for years. We did get a response from the Mta Bridges and Tunnels, and I'll finish this report by reading that response in part. Quote, in regard to the subject triangular parcel in the northwest corner of First Avenue and 36th Street abutting the south retaining wall of the QMT entrance plaza south tube, please note that any public access or use would pose significant concerns and therefore will not be a consideration for us. While the area may look like a simple patch of green, there's key infrastructure therein, in addition to access issues related to security, maintenance, safety, and emergency response. Also at issue is the structural, you get the example, you get the point, it goes on for a while. That's just one of the reasons that we thought that we should address the potential of having a public realm director, and one of the reasons we refocused on the block of street that we just voted on. That's it.
Thank you, Kevin. Are there any questions for Kevin in this committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to youth and education. John.
Right. At our next meeting, we're going to have a report from the New York Department of Youth and Community Development, trying to understand better how we might work with them. And under new business at our next meeting, we're going to look at resolutions on in support of Public Advocate Williams' bill before the City Council, co-sponsored by Councilmember Kalos, to establish an emergency student food plan for food security for students. We will also look at a motion to a resolution to support Controller Stringer's resolution calling for an amnesty for budget deficits. And the explanation on that is something I've been mentioning at all of our meetings, that with a 43,000 drop in New York public school enrollment, that's about $4,000 a kid or $5,000 a kid, and some schools are down as much as $600,000. And we want to have an amnesty for them not having to return that money and blowing up the school budgets. We will also have a discussion of a resolution to fully reopen pre-K to 12 schools. Borough President Brewer, who I don't think is here any longer, but alluded to that issue during her remarks. And finally, we'll have to talk of a discussion of a resolution calling for fully funding, supporting the full funding of our public schools. That's all of my report.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions for John and the Youth and Education Committee? All right, seeing none, thank you very much, John. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Strategic Community Planning with Kavitha.
Thanks, Kyle. I don't have a long report, just ongoing coordination with other committees and planning for future joint meetings. We also have had info sessions, the last one with Open New York, talking about effective means of community engagement. So we're hoping to take that to heart and have some community engagement meetings or events in the spring, and working on all of those, still trying to figure out, I think the next committee meeting, we will have MSBI there. There's apparently not much to report in terms of updates on the sale of the buildings, but we will find out if there's anything, anything at all to know. And that's really it.
Great, thank you, Kavitha. Are there any questions for Kavitha and the Strategic Community Planning Committee? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to budget and government affairs. Reshma?
Thank you, Kyle. For budget and government affairs, we had our meeting on Monday, and we have been asked to comment on the response we received from the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget on our district needs statement. By February 16th, we'll be submitting a letter of comment on that. And then in April, we will be distributing a much longer list of items that were not addressed. Most of the items we had in our district needs did not get any attention. Most of the items we were told that there is no funding at this point, or it is under consideration. A few things that are being addressed is the footbridge at Waterside Plaza, as well as making the district more accessible and compliant for ADA. So if anyone, we would write input from all the other committees on the district needs statement. We will have the Airtable available for people to review, to see the latest comments from the city agencies on these requests. And for the letter that we're sending on February 16th, we're going to be addressing 5 points, which we think are needs that the city did not address adequately in their response to us, and their needs that are greater now than they were when we submitted our district needs statement, given the impact of COVID-19. And if anyone would like to see, details of that, I'm happy to share that with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Reshma. Are there any questions for Reshma and for the Budget and Governmental Affairs Committee? All right. Thank you very much, Reshma. We'll move on to Land Use and Waterfront. Adam? You're on mute, Adam.
Thank you. Trying something new this evening on my phone and the headphones, so already batting a 0. All right, so no resolutions this evening, but we did have our last meeting on January 25th, where we heard updates from the ESCR project team in and around Sty Cove. The team gave us construction updates in and around Solar One, and we haven't seen that. You might have seen them if you've been in the area recently. The team gave us the team received feedback on ways to improve communication in the general construction schedule. Again, if you are not signed up, I would highly recommend that you visit the ESCR website to sign up for their weekly emails. So some forthcoming agenda items. We've in the past few months, we've focused a lot on the waterfront, but there are some juicy land use items that I think everybody should be aware of. Specifically, 3 ULURPs on the horizon. 2 are in CB5. The first one is 343 Madison Avenue. This is the old MTA headquarters. This is part of the broader Midtown East rezoning, and a large building is being proposed with transit upgrades. Sandy will be our liaison with CB5, and we will work with CB5 during their ULURP session. We're still working out the details with the office in CB5, but we will most likely have a presentation after CB5's ULURP presentation, either in March or April. Once we get a firmer timeline, we'll report back. Again, I don't think this project has certified, so the clock has not begun to tick. The other one, which you might have seen in the news, it's the Grand Hyatt next to Grand Central Terminal, also in CB5. There is also a very large building being proposed there in the site of the old Commodore Hotel, aka the one Trump renovated in the 80s. Much like 343, there will be transit impacts, but this building has also yet to certify, and there is no clear timeline for the bureaucratic process. The office is staying on top of this, but once there's a clear timeline, we're back. And then the third one is in our district, and Krim will speak more about this in her report. But the long and short, this is for 215 East 45th Street. Last Friday, Kyle, Corinne, Rich, Cody, myself, we sat in on a call, and reps from this project presented to us. So the long and short of it, this is currently a single adult women's shelter, and it's operated on the site for several decades. And they propose to develop an as-right facility that will expand their footprint of a new shelter. And Krim will give you more of the details there. And so the only reason that this is going through a ULURP is that this has been a city-owned site for decades. It's operated as a shelter for decades. It was formerly a convent. But the city is in disposition of the property they own, and in order for them to transfer it, they have to essentially go through the ULURP process. And so outside of these land use items, excuse me. Okay, outside these land use items, we are paying attention to some other things on the near distant horizon, and this is going to depend upon forthcoming legislation. But helicopters, Borough President Brewer talked about how the helicopter task force has been meeting in earnest, and they'll have a new meeting either in February or March. We've been in communication with Representative Maloney's office regarding new federal legislation. Cody's looking into this, and if there's any movement there, we'll discuss it accordingly, either a February or March meeting. And depending on time for our upcoming meeting, we'll discuss the visioning for the waterfront north of Sty Cove. And so that concludes my report.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Are there any questions for Adam in the Land Use and Waterfront Committee? Ronnie, I see your hand up.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to add that the project proposed for Lexington Avenue is going to be over 1,600 feet high to balance out one Vanderbilt and another new tower going up. Whereas The Chrysler Building is approximately 1 million square feet. This new tower will be double that easily. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ronnie. All right, seeing no other questions. Thank you, Adam.
All right, thank you all.
Next up, we have Corinne with Housing and Homelessness.
Okay, thank you. So as Adam mentioned, I just need a report on what was also in the CB6 email. There's currently the New Providence on East 45th. This currently houses 130 single adult women that are unhoused and have mental health concerns. This property will be demolished, and a new 21-story facility will be built there. It will have once built, it will have 171 beds, shelters as a shelter, and then it'll be, and this is the great news, it will have 130 new units of supportive and affordable housing. 78 will be supportive housing, and 52 will be a lottery process for low income. These are all studio apartments. And there also will be a medical clinic on the ground floor that will serve both the residents and the larger community. It will take about 2 years from demolition to construction. During that time, current residents will be relocated, ideally to permanent housing, but if not, to a shelter that meets their needs. And this is a great opportunity. It's a great way for the city to have really maximized the use of this property. And we're very excited to get this within our CB6 district. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. We have a couple of questions or points. So Rich, first, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add 2 things regarding that project. One is one of the things I like about it is that the permanent residents and the shelter residents will have separate entrances. So the permanent residents in the supportive and affordable housing will have an apartment building experience, even though they're sharing the building with the shelter. The two parts are separate. And the other thing is that I'm particularly excited about the health clinic. There's a health clinic on site now, but its only entrance is inside. So only people who are living in the facility know about it and can use it. And this, the new health clinic will have its own separate entrance on the street and will be available to the public, which will be great for the neighborhood. That's all.
Awesome, thank you, Rich. And Adam, you want to add something?
Yes, sorry. So Cody reminded me that the site is actually not 215, it's 225. And sort of the meeting schedule presented to us by the project team means that this project will probably certify in April or May. And so we're potentially going to do a June land use meeting of some sort, and they might present earlier to housing.
Thank you. Dan, I see your hand up.
Yeah, why I'm a little confused. Why, if a number of years ago, a lot of New York City residents made a big deal about the so-called poor door for those who weren't paying full freight for luxury apartment buildings, are a few years later we being so callous and classist as to want to have people who cannot afford a home to actually have a separate entrance? That does not sit well with me.
So let me just clarify for you quickly. So the building is a pretty comprehensive building. It's a multifunctional use. So part of it is a health center, part of it is affordable housing, part of it is a shelter. And this is honestly just for organization's sake and to make sure that there's proper intake, that there's proper usage of it, is that for each of those purposes is a separate entrance within the same structure. Corinne and Adam, I don't know if you have anything to add to that or to clarify.
No, I think you're saying that you articulated well. It's just that it's the poor door. Those were still just housing. These are 2 different functions. one's shelter and one's housing.
Mhm. Dan, does that answer your question? Because that was definitely something that we were concerned about going in as it was presented, and they were able to clarify that for us.
Yeah, it does. It just seems like an excuse to me, though, frankly.
Yeah, so definitely come to the presentations, and you can see kind of how they've created the schematics for that, and to provide your opinion on that for sure. All right, I see no other questions, and we'll move on to business affairs and licensing. Thank you, Corinne.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. We had 3 businesses come up to us this past month. You all read these, but the first one was Westgate, which is a hotel that asked, that wants to change their license to be just 2 rooms, so a bar area and kind of like a ballroom situation, and not the whole hotel instead, and they're closing the restaurant down, unfortunately. The second one is for Rosa Mexicana, a new location for them.
Hold up, Claire, let's just go through them one by one, unless because we have to go through them one by one, unless someone makes a motion to,
bundle.
Second.
There it is.
All right, so that was Jean, and who seconded that? Sorry, I couldn't hear that.
That was Brian.
Okay, and seconded by Brian. So you just want to.
I'll just be quick. Rosa Mexicana is a new location. They've been in our district before. They have a lot of locations across the city. Good tacos. And the third one is Penelope's, which is on Lexington. They're asking to have a full bar now instead of just wine and beer, and they expressed significant losses during COVID. So all of these, the committee unanimously voted no objection. So someone wants to vote on these now.
Are there any questions for Claire on any of these, or is there a motion?
Could call the question. It's B.
All right, that's B. Is that seconded?
Second.
Who was that? Seconded?
Anne.
All right, and seconded by Anne. Thank you. So now everyone please return back to your digital ballot and mark your vote for 8A, 8B, and 8C. For those of you who are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally during the second roll call. And once you have marked your vote for each of these resolutions, you can then hit submit. And please make sure that you've signed it as well digitally. And Claire, while people are marking their votes, do you have a report back?
Yeah, just quickly, we were alerted to a new startup that is doing a commission-free service in order to help local businesses with deliveries. So this group called Spread has this new app that kind of is in replace of, Seamless or Grubhub, whatever. And they do not charge businesses commission in order to use the service. So that's similar to just picking up the phone and calling these restaurants to ask for delivery, but that the link and a little bit more information about that new app is on the Business Affairs and Licensing section of the CB6 website. I encourage you all to check it out. Secondly, recently City Council passed local law that amends the charter in relation to expanding the availability of food vendor permits. It's also creating an Office of Street Vendor Enforcement and also establishing an advisory board for street vendors. An organization called the Street Vendor Project, which is housed under the Urban Justice Center, has come to Business Affairs and Licensing in the past, but they're going to come back and kind of give us an update about what this means for our district and hopefully give us some action items to further support their cause. So I would invite you all to join us at our next meeting on the 25th of February, the last Thursday of the month. And I'll take any questions, but that's it for me otherwise.
Thank you, Claire. Are there any questions for Claire on the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you so much, Claire. All right, well, next we'll move on to Health and Human Services. Elvie?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for those that supported our town hall meeting on January 14. 124 attended the meeting. And as Kyle said, it was very successful. It was well received and questions on COVID vaccines had been addressed. The challenge that we are facing right now is finding a schedule to get vaccine appointments, especially for seniors that don't have access to computers or are not savvy with computers. So I would like to make a plea to all members. If you can help at least 5 seniors that you know that need assistance, since we are 50 members times 5, that is a total of 250 seniors that can receive the vaccine. Today, I was able to help 10 seniors who didn't have access to computers. If you can help more than 5, that would be a big help to members of our community. And also, I would like to say that I'm working as a vaccination unit leader at Mta Valley Secondary School at Stanton Street in Manhattan. Tomorrow is our first Health and Human Services Committee meeting. We have 2 speakers from the citywide and Manhattan branch to speak on the new program about caregivers support services. Anyone interested to hear about these new services, please come to our meeting tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Elvie, for your leadership and for your service as the vaccination leader. So thank you so much. Are there any questions for Elvie and the Health and Human Services Committee?
I would just request that if Elvie, I'm sorry, I did not raise my hand, but if Elvie could, or the board could kind of just distribute information about how people might be able to connect with seniors to help them get vaccines, that would be great.
Mm-hmm. Will do, Anne. Thank you. That's a good point.
Yes.
All right, are there any other questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Elvie.
You're welcome.
All right. And then last, we'll move on to public safety with Matt Roberts. Matt?
All right, thanks, Kyle. We'll kick things off next week, a week from tomorrow, with the first Public Safety Committee meeting. It's going to be a little bit different than previous public safety committees. We'll be focusing a little bit more on the human rights side of things as well. So for next week, we will have some updates from the police precincts on crime trends. We're not going to get too granular, so please don't bring your local issues to discuss. This is going to be more trends and high-level updates. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about police reform. We're going to spend a couple of meetings tackling that issue ahead of the state's initiative to reform policing statewide. So if you're interested in that, join us on Thursday, the 18th.
All right, thank you so much, Matt. Are there any questions for Matt and the Public Safety Committee? All right, seeing none, thank you so much, Matt. And again, their first meeting is next Thursday, so please do attend. Okay. So we'll now conclude. Board members, if you have any old or new business to state, please raise your hand through Zoom. All right, seeing none, but I will take this time to wish my mother a happy birthday, which is tonight. So I will use that. But if I see no other old or new business.
And birthday, Kyle. It's your birthday too, yesterday, right?
Yeah, it was Monday. Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday.
My birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Great job.
birthday.
So now we'll commence with the second roll call and your resolution votes.
Hi, everyone. I'll let you know if I, received your ballot, and if I didn't, if you could submit it or let me know if you'd like to give a verbal ballot. That'd be also fine. Kyle, happy birthday.
Thank you. Present.
Asia Badi,
Present.
Martin Barrett,
Present.
Elvie Barroso,
Present.
Joan Berenbaum,
Present.
Matt Bondi.
Present. I'm sorry about that. I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. Claire.
Present.
Dan Devine.
Present.
B.
Present.
Jeannie. Charles.
Present.
Andrew Gross, just confirming I don't see you. All right, Adam Hartley,
Present.
Molly Hollister,
Here.
Paige Judge,
Here.
Yusuf Khalid. Yusuf? Not hearing you. John Keller,
Still here.
Abigail Cruzmark,
Present.
Anton Malner,
Present.
Kavita,
Here.
Sandra McKee,
Here.
Wells Magali,
Here.
Richard Mintz, Rich.
I'm here.
Okay, great, thanks. Philip Napolitano, I don't think he's here. Rajesh Nair,
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe.
Happy belated birthday, Kyle. I'm here.
All right, Kevin, you just have to submit your ballot unless you'd like to give it verbally.
I'm submitting it as we speak.
Perfect. Reshma Patel,
Here.
Matthew Roberts,
Here.
Jean Santoro,
Here.
Frank, I don't think is here. Lawrence,
Present. Happy birthday, Kyle.
Ann Seligman,
Here.
Lou Sapersky,
Yo.
Sean Sherman,
Here.
Sandro Sherrod,
Present.
Letty Simon,
Present.
Susan Steinberg,
Present.
Anshu Suresh. Anju? Not hearing you. Mark Thompson,
Here. Here.
Corinne,
Here.
Brian Van Nieuwenhoven,
Present.
Ronnie White,
Present.
and Claude Winfield.
Present.
All right, I'm happy to give kind of an update on the ballot. So transportation ballot 1A, it passed 40 in favor, 1 opposed, 0 abstained, 0 not entitled. Transportation 1B, it passed 39 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstained, 1 not entitled. Parks 2A has passed 39 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstained, 0 not entitled. 8A in business and licenses passes unanimously, 41 in favor. Ballot 8B passes unanimously, 41 in favor, and ballot 8C passes unanimously, 41 in favor. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
All
you.
right. I'm wondering about 8A. I said not entitled. Are the parks? I think
that didn't come up. You did not vote that way. Yeah.
Sandy, the Parks Reso was 2A, and there is a not entitled vote for that.
there's only one.
I see one not entitled vote for 2A and 1 abstention.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, are there any other issues with the voting?
No, hey, Sandy, is that everything copacetic?
I guess I will confirm with other members of AllKB and just make sure they did not mistakenly vote for that, because we are not entitled if you're a member of AllKB.
Right. Well, I think it's an important reso, and anything we can do to
Absolutely. Just maybe anyone who is listening, if you did mistakenly vote in favor, it's not that you're abstaining for cause. You're not entitled.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting. Seeing no further business, the meeting is adjourned at 8:38 p.m. All right, hope everyone enjoys their night. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night.
Bye.